Why hello everyone, it has definitely been a while since the last time we met, and I know that this isn't your over-edited video that you expect compared to some of the other stuff that I've done, but this is one of those snapshots that was just really interesting to me, and I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit because I think this kind of brings up a really good question in terms of how the game should be ran. So, let's start off with actually just a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm going to assume you know what the spear does by this point. Everybody talks about the general function of the spear. Everybody has done some PvP matches with it. I'm going to be talking about the spear purely from a technical standpoint, and most importantly, the jab function of the spear. I'm not going to be talking about lunge. Everybody knows that shit, alright? Even their parents know by this point because everybody keeps saying it. Also, like, this is post-recording. I do respect every single dev that works on this game. They managed to do that, have a family and all that, and work on side projects. I respect that. I'm just doing this mostly for bantering and because this snapshot is just hella funny, and you'll see what I mean soon. But with that out of the way, I want to quickly introduce with a really simple question. Should Minecraft allow automatic farming? Alright, this may seem like a really stupid question, but the logic is pretty simple. Minecraft is a sandbox simulation game where the player's fun is derived by their interactions within the game. Some players, of course, have fun doing some things compared to other things. Say, for example, Minecraft has a player that's really good at building, yet that player does not like gathering the resources to building. Some of those resources are kept behind mobs, some resources are really rare to find within the world itself, etc. Should the game allow the player to automatically farm those resources while they sleep or something? Well, the answer is yes. If the player wants to build something big, they should of course be able to farm the resources to do it. If a server wants to build, say for example Atlantis, and they need like 10 stacks of sea lanterns, they of course can build a farm for it. Who the hell would want to sit around for 10 hours trying to fight water hedgehogs and destroying ocean monuments? You get what I'm saying? Very simple bumfuck ass answer. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but let's expand this a little bit and ask the question, should player AFK loot, should player loot such as wither skulls and whatnot be AFKable? By extension, kind of yes. Say for example, player wants a bunch of beacons. You know those like old school hide and seek maps where they have beacons everywhere for lighting? Say for example a player wants all of those. The player should be rewarded for their creativity by being able to automatically AFK both the wither skull creation and wither killing as well to be able to make those beacons necessary. They have fun doing what they want to do, and they maximize that fun by skipping out time grinding something that they don't find fun. Now this brings on to a really simple problem. The aforementioned AFK player killing. Thing is that this game for a long time hasn't had a really official way to AFK kill mobs. Currently, most of the farms either ask the player to hopefully have a mod that either lets them automatically attack at set intervals, or for them to download an external auto clicker to be able to do that, both of which kind of feels weird and kind of defeats the purpose of vanilla Minecraft. Now we get onto the spear. Now you kind of see where I'm going with this. This is what interested me the most when I saw the spear introduced. Can the spear be able to get infinite player damage? Now at first, my thought was, can the spear be held indefinitely and the player just moves back and forth, maybe using boat collision or something to just constantly move the player back and forth? Well, unfortunately the answer is no. After the third stage, unfortunately the player just raises back up the spear. But then something interesting hit me. The jab attack. In the Minecraft Live, they advertised the jab attack as a fixed cooldown attack. And I don't have the footage on me, but the cooldown animation they had on the spear was really similar to the fading animation, the white animation, the whiting animation that they had on the Ender Pearl. And this got me thinking, would holding the jab attack be able to endlessly jab? Well, unfortunately for the mouse, no. But something really interesting happens when you rebind your key. So I'm going to rebind this to a mouse key, say for example J, and I'm going to put Husk in here. And if I just hold the key, nothing else, the player endlessly jabs. This is the closest we have ever gotten right now to endless AFK player damage. If you support this and you have a big saying and you have a big following, definitely advertise this, because this opens up accessibility to a lot of players, especially on servers that do not allow such tools to exist in the game. This allows the aforementioned people that do not like grinding, killing mobs, to be able to skip the grind of killing mobs and be able to get the resources that they want. Second post recording. So another thing is that with infinite jabs is that even though you could switch the attack to a toggle instead of a hold, that does not work with keybind. You would have to use an external weight. So that maybe is the last thing that they need to do in order to fully enforce this. This, I think, is probably one of the best things the spear can do, at least in the technical scenes. And again, I'm going to be ignoring most of the PvP stuff. But this is where the fun mostly ends, and then the confusion starts as to how the snapshot was released and who the hell developed it. I did not know they were hiring interns at Mojang, but their balancing was really questionable. For example, the gold spear, even though it has the same attack speed as iron, it deals the same damage as wood. How the hell does that happen? No other gold tool has this problem. They have the same stats as like wood, if not slightly better. But they're usually the exact same as wood. How does this happen? If not slightly better, say for example the axe with the attack speed. How the hell do you make a rarer spear worse than what's supposed to be the worst spear? And this is where the stuff gets really interesting. All these have sharpness. This one has looting, which I forgot to mention, but yeah, these can be enchanted with looting, which helps with the AFK looting as said earlier. All these have looting, and I'm going to create perfect farm scenario by having a strength 2 beacon, right? Want to use villagers for this example? Count the amount of attacks this spear does to kill. 1, 2. 2 attacks. Let's get out the netherite spear. This thing has half the attack speed as this. This should hopefully be able to kill, right? 1, 2. Why does the wood spear still have faster kill time than the netherite spear? Most mobs in this game have 20 HP, 10 hearts, right? The wood spear has higher DPS than the netherite spear. This poor thing. There are a few mobs that kind of break this, so Husk have built-in armor. They take 3 hits. Vindicators have 23 HP, so they take 3 hits as well. But the thing is that the DPS on the wood spear is just slightly slower than the netherite. Why is this like this? Who made this? What were they doing? What were they doing? I don't know what they were doing. I wish I knew what they were doing. And it gets worse. This whole time I had this thing open. You don't even need to have this thing open. I'm gonna go to this side. Alright, so if I'm here and I jab, well, of course, I'm not gonna hit him. I go right up to the block. I hit him! I think this is because they have that, like, detection where if the mob is too close, it doesn't deal damage. But they forgot the block! They forgot the block! Why? And it works on ceilings, too! It works on ceilings! It works on ceilings! Why is this like this? Why is this like this? Oh my god. I can only imagine the PvP because this thing could get knocked back. You're fighting someone. You just build 2 blocks and then you just start jabbing them through the block. Or you get knocked back on this thing and then you just start zoning them out with like the wood spear attack speed. Oh my god. No. No. Why? What is this? This snapshot is wild. No. I like what they wanted to do with this, and I like the technical applications, but what were they doing with the balancing? I mean, yeah, it's probably gonna change, but how did this even get to a snapshot? How did this get to a snapshot? I also want to talk about something real quick. And it's the mipmapping. So they added all blocks to mipmapping, right? I'm gonna turn it on because I had it off this whole time. Look at what happens to the sugar cane as I get further. Why does it get solid? This shit look ugly as fuck. Why? I do not like solid sugarcane. It gets worse with them. With the wildflowers. I forgot to prepare this. Hold on. I had another world, and you'll understand why I had another world in a minute. Well, we had these wildflowers, right? And I'm just going to max out mid-map real quick. Look at what happens as I get further away from this. Just keep going, Ah! What happens to that? Why? Why? This shit look ugly as f- You can't even disable specific ones, at least not to my knowledge. I'm turning this thing off. I remember in my pigment farm video, some people were telling me to turn on mipmap, but no! Mipmap is now uglier. How does that happen? I think they were like too busy with like 21.10 that they forgot to make this thing kind of like okay. And it gets worse. I'm gonna X out of this world. I can't get back in because I had the strength effect. That's all for this video. I'm recording this at like 2 in the morning. Have a good night.